Let's spin up the Polkadot Relay Chain. So you're going to need a couple things. You're going to need the Polkadot SDK repo. So I'm going to be showing you how to do this in two ways. One will be from source, and the other one will be using binaries, which is the faster way, but both have trade-offs. Okay. So the other thing that you're going to need is the CLI tool for spinning up Polkadot networks. That's ZombieNet. So this one you don't actually need to git clone. You can actually go to releases and download the binary. So usually I pick the latest binary. If you scroll down into assets, you download the one according to your operating system. And normally I like to add this to my path so that it's an executable in my path. You have to chmod plus X, the executable. And the other thing that you normally have to do is you have to tell, if you're using MacBooks, you're going to have to tell Apple, like, hey, I know this isn't from the App Store. It's trusted. So you can do that in settings, security, or through the command line. There's a useful command that you can do for that. Those of you who don't know the command, it's right there on my screen. Okay. So you're going to have to remove it from quarantine. So once you have ZombieNet installed on your operating system and you have the Polkadot SDK repo downloaded, one thing is like we want to usually run the relay chain off of a specific branch, not off of master, because master kind of like it has everything. We don't know exactly the state of master. It keeps changing every day. There's like, something added to master. So it's a good tip to just like use a release. In this case, I'm using the Polkadot stable, the latest stable release, which is right there. And so you can either use a tag for this or the branch. So you're going to have to, git clone it and then git check out that branch you can see there or the tag. Um, so once you have it cloned, you're going to have to build it, right? So building, you want to build for release. And when you run this command, usually I tell people when like I'm doing tutorials, like, compiling repos, I'm like, okay, run this command, compile it, and go grab a cup of coffee. Well, this is one of the largest open source projects, one of the largest open source repos. So in this case, hit return and go grab lunch. All right. So I already did this. I don't want to keep you all waiting. So it's compiled. You can see there's a target folder, and inside a release, there's a few notable binaries. One of them is the Polkadot binary, and the other one is the Polkadot execute worker, and the third one is the Polkadot prepare worker. So I want to just highlight those three binaries. Uh, and outside of this repo, in the root, we're now ready to configure our network for ZombieNet. So we're going to use ZombieNet, the CLI tool, to spin up a relay chain. ZombieNet can be used to spin up Polkadot networks. So you could use it to spin up relay chain and parachains. In this case, we're just spinning up the relay chain. That's all we want to do. And the way that we do that is by specifying a ZombieNet network configuration file. So I'm going to call it network.toml. You could call it zombienet.toml, whatever you want to call it. And paste this little snippet there. And you can see that we're kind of like semantically saying like, hey, we're going to spin up relay chain, and it's going to have two nodes. One is Alice with port 9944 as the RPC port, and the other one is Bob with port 9955 as the RPC port. So these RPC ports are useful to connect to the blockchain node. And the chain is going to be Rococo local, which is fine for development purposes. It's like a development runtime of Polkadot. And the default command in this case, so we actually want to use, we just compiled the Polkadot SDK repo. I compiled it. So I'm going to say /target release /Polkadot. So this is where the other way to do this would be to use the binary, download the binary directly from Polkadot SDK repo. So here, like in this release here on Polkadot SDK repo, if you scroll down past the change log under assets, you can see that there's the binaries there, okay, Polkadot. And if you're running a MacBook, it would be this one here, Polkadot, right? This Apple one, okay? This is really nice because this didn't exist too far ago. Before it was like you had to use Linux. Now you can download the binary off of the release and download this one, the prepare worker and the execute worker, right? They're all here. You can find them, and then make sure it's executable, right? Make sure Apple doesn't complain. drop it into a folder that has the same folder as the network.toml file that I'm creating here. And then simply here, it would just be slightly different. It would be like that. Okay, ./polkadot binary, right? And that's the other way you could do it. That's the fast way. Like if you don't plan on developing anything, right? You just want to run the relay chain, then just download the binary, right? Because it takes forever to compile. So in my case, I'm going to show you how to do it from source. And that's what I have here on the screen. And I already have the ZombieNet CLI installed. That's going to be the command that you're going to be running, specifying the configuration file. And ZombieNet's running. So you can see it on my screen. It's spinning up the network. And remember, it's going to be 2 nodes that are going to be running the relay chain, the Polkadot relay chain. And it does all the configuration, all the setup for us, and it does it really fast. Like the network's been launched. Okay. So a lot of useful information here. The first one that you want to know is the log. So if you're doing blockchain development, or if you want to have visibility into your node, I like to copy this. Yes, it is truncated here, like dot, dot, dot. But what you can do is just copy that path as is, open a new tab here, and just say tail dash F, paste that truncated path, and just do tab for autocomplete. It's actually a little hack. And alice.log, we want to look at the Alice node, the logs on Alice node. So we hit return, and boom, we're looking at the Alice node, the blockchain node, the logs there. And this is really useful for development purposes. It's like you have to have this if you're doing blockchain development. And it's useful to see what's happening with the blockchain node. It's useful for picking up any warnings or errors as well. Okay, so this is one useful thing that ZombieNet gives us. The other one that I want to show you here is that you can get this URL here, and it's Polkadot.js apps. It's a UI that we can use to look into our blockchain node and interact with our blockchain node. So I'm going to open this in my browser window, paste it in there, and you can see this is the blockchain node. This is Alice, the node, and it's connected to port 9944, the RPC port on Alice's node. And you can see the block production there, as well as interacting with the blockchain in various ways. All right. So remember, it says Rococo. Rococo is the development runtime of Polkadot. So this is Polkadot Relay Chain producing blocks locally on my machine. All right.